Meditation in the desert. Why did I go into the desert? To pass beyond the familiar world, where meanings are stable, and events predictable. Here in the desert, everything is open, everything is insecure. Here all the conventions of the human world have no value. The desert is a place where I can escape from the evils of the city in order to become pure again. In the desert I empty my head of all the crowds, all the noises, and all the images. I went out into the desert to find a new beginning. I have left the shelter of the 10,000 familiar things to enter the nothingness that is at the back of all things, and the nothingness at the bottom of the heart. I wander in the desert as we humans wander through the desert of this world. That is our life, wandering, driven by the thirst of our desires. We are wandering in circles in the dry desert of rational thinking, until we are staring into the bottomless abyss of nothingness, from which we cannot return. Sensing this abyss, feeling this nothingness, out of fear humans have veiled it with rituals, holy songs, wise words, and long pilgrimages. Religion fills the meaningless abyss with meaning and gives the seeker some orientation in his journeys through the desert of life. Religion gives us something to think, even when there is nothing to think. There is an outer desert and an inner desert. With each step in the outer desert of sense, I go deeper into my inner desert of nothingness. I am walking the negative way, following the shifting sands of thoughts to their end, into nothingness, into thoughtlessness. In the vast desert I feel what a small being I am. I do not go into the desert to find myself, but to lose myself. to lose what I think I am, to become unknown to myself. I empty myself of myself and rediscover myself. In the desert, I renew myself. I become more silent than the silence around me. And how? By silencing the mind, by becoming silence itself. Deep silence is terrible. Deep silence feels like death. In the desert, the eye is confused by shifting sands and by the distortions of the hot air. But the ear listens to the whispering wind. In the desert, time becomes timeless. The mind turns inward and becomes total presence. Being becomes seeing, and seeing becomes being. Neither inside nor outside, but both are one. The desert is a place of terror and hauntings, a place of miracles and visions. Looking at the desert, one might say, there is nothing out there. It is a place where bones are bleaching white by the blowing wind until they are absorbed into the sand. The priests say that they know who God is, what God wants and demands of us humans. But we humans, with our small mind, can never know who God really is and what He wants. While I was crossing the desert, in the distance, I saw something moving. Who is this being coming nearer and nearer? Is it God or Satan or both? God can be Satan, and Satan can be God. When He was close to me, God said, there will be a sandstorm, and passed on His way. I looked after Him and thought He was very rude. If He was causing a sandstorm, He could also stop it. But why should I waste my time with God? He could equally well have been the devil. But this indifferent God of the desert still haunts me. I must take leave of God. He gives no security. I can finally say I no longer fear any God. God is only a metaphor. The sky is empty. There's nothing out there. God once spoke to Moses face to face, yet mysteriously remained unseen. Moses had to remain hidden in a cleft of a rock, but his glory passed by. I wandered deeper into the desert. After 3 days and 3 nights, I finally came to the place full of tombs, half covered by sand, the city of the dead. There was a black mountain. At its foot ran a clear stream. The waters were cold and sweet. A few palm trees were standing near the stream. Here I rested and lived as a solitary in a tomb among the tombs. I ate golden dates and drank sweet water. The earliest cities were cities of the dead. Among nomadic peoples, the only fixed place is a tomb. Only in death does one sleep next to one's ancestors. But also the great cities with all its bursting bright of appearances, only cities of the living dead. Like a corpse, I lay down on the cold stone floor of the tomb, indifferent to life and death. The desert is a place on earth most feared, where the demons, both inside and outside, are most powerful and countered, and where I had to face that which is most fearful, myself. I was living on the edge of the world, and the terrible desert of my interior. This is the utter desert, where one is alone in his inner self. The desert is a place of stillness and wandering, until one reaches the still points within. The desert in the desert. In spite of all the stars above me, I am alone, alone with myself. Will I die? I have no more fear. I am already separated from my body. Life is an endless pilgrimage to an unknown end. I walk and I walk, and nothing changes. Always the same sight, endless sense, nothing but sense. In the shifting landscapes, I recognize the inner landscapes of my mind. The desert is both out there and in here. On the desert journey, one must travel light, and getting light and light. There is no way, only the wayless way, the no way, where everything loses its meaning. This harsh landscape with its abysses and pitiless horizons demands everything. It demands detachment and silence. Where silence and nothingness reigns, every word is useless, empty, vain. It is a journey into unknowing. I penetrate the desert of my inner silence, the wilderness of the unconscious. I risk the sanity of my mind. I have been utterly consumed by the desert. The desert has become me. The desert, the harshest place on earth, a place of dreams and illusions. Here time and space lose their meaning. I was floating in another dimension, in an unexplored reality, like a dream. Here one is either utterly filled or utterly destroyed. In this wilderness, humans cannot survive long. The desert is not a place to stay, but to cross through. But at the same time, there is nothing beyond. The land beyond remains always a mirage. This is an absolute otherness that negates every construction of human civilization. The foul underbelly belly of cities, the human wastelands, the desolate parking places, is a bizarre human distortion of true wilderness. In the grandeur of the deserts, the air is so pure that the stars seem to descend. In its aridity, it drives out the artificial culture, the silence that exists nowhere else. I gaze towards the vanishing point at the horizon. It is that point towards that all desert travelers move, until their journey becomes entirely an interior one. They look at and into a palm tree, a stone, a spider, and see it as it is in itself, devoid of all ascribed qualities. Only here can we see things as they are in themselves. I dream of a hard and brutal mysticism in which I merge with a non-human world, and yet somehow survive. Step by step I move forward and nothing changes. Nowhere any landmarks. I feel as if I'm walking on the same spot. The desert meets the empty sky. Always the same distance ahead of me. Around me a silence, in which only the winds play. The immense emptiness quietens everyone. It is not the goal, but the walking that matters. And the harder the way, the more worthwhile the journey. I prefer the harder to the easier way. I have followed a strange group of pilgrims, which has gone before me this way. There have been saints and sinners, madmen, poets, and charlatans. My fellow travelers are not settled city dwellers, but nomads. Only in the desert, they declared, could a man find freedom. Leaving behind the green fields, the palm grove, the shade and the running water, and all the luxury in the towns, to go out into the interminable deserts beyond. In the desert there are no highways. One has to find his own way. The desert is a place for those who thirst for the unknown mystery. To dwell here is no longer be of this world. In the desert, we are lost while we search. There I lived in the naked deserts, under the cold, indifferent heaven. By day burned by the hot sun and beaten by dry wind. At night I felt so small under the endless sky with its innumerable stars. In the desert one feels the weight of the sky and the thirst of the earth. The silence made me feel that death is always near. As the sun sank down behind the distant horizon, I was standing on a hillside amid these tombs at the end of the world, waiting for what? For nothing.